anyway, coming back to the task at hand, it is the idea that we discuss generally the status quo and the future of planning as a part of our meeting. Then let's look at the work package brief and then discuss about the site. And it's a kind of free discussion. We need to record it. I'll try to make better work out of it, but basically we can take as much time as you can share. And the area that I proposed, and then I'll finish in a second. The area what I proposed, this is Tallinn, we all know about it. The area is here. It is the railway development. We can see the sea harbour, Baltic railway station, the Telliskivi quarter there, and then quite a large territory of railway tracks that are not used anymore. There is one track going through, and so it has a kind of hybrid goal also to have visions about that area, but basically for our work it is to see the language of the design work itself.
Right.
And this is the area.
Right.
And a proposal, in a way, to radicalize this speculation is to demolish the railway, one line of railway that goes to that area, and instead use there a car track and a bicycle track to come down. Because hopefully Andres Alver will talk about the development of Tallinn city here, which then would tell us about what are the problems of Kopli Peninsula and Tallinn all together, to get a kind of wider perspective to the thing, and hopefully that podcast would also be part of our brief.
Like a Tallinn barn.
And when we have finished, then I can go into the history of that area. But first I'll give a word to you to just do free discussion on what we are doing. Was that in a way understandable, what I was trying to introduce? Do you have comments?
Can we have a general consensus on, first of all, AI and the future of how we see EI progressing? I think we have to get that sorted out.
Okay.
Don't you think? Because
Douglas, do you feel that you know quite a lot about this AI, or you can discuss what it is, or where it should go, or where it's going, so therefore how they manage these things, or do you? I'm not very sure that I have this kind of information.
Okay, yeah.
So it's.
I have a preliminary view because I've tested it myself.
Okay, you just tested it.
Yeah, I tested it. Yeah. I mean, that's why, with the fourth year.
So far, I haven't done that, but okay, yes, interesting.
With the fourth year, I always explain that if they're going to use AI, right, the basic premise is you have to be as good as the AI itself. Because if you don't know what you're doing, how are you able to tell that AI hasn't faked what you've asked for? So I put in questions and up came wrong answers. So, but only because I knew what the answers were before I submitted to the chat GPT. And I've got an AI app that I use, and I've been reading about the Chinese apps. There's been a lot of discussion in the UK about the use of AI for architectural design, and so far I would say the overall summary by probably most architects is that when they look at the Chinese solutions popping up, as you showed today, there's a lot of mistakes in the actual implementation, the building of the design doesn't stack up. But that's today. It's a question of whether it will be able in the future. Can AI, which is based on the language and the information we give it, will it be able to become innovative the way our brains are innovative?
Probably.
I disagree.
Okay.
Because
I said probably.
yeah, if we're in control of the information, the data,
But are we?
yes we are.
How?
Because
It's all over the world.
if you look at the intuitive designs that architects have created from 5,000 years ago in places like Greece, then
Jordan Hug,
it's
5,000 years before Christ.
yes.
Oh.
So the Acropolis, for example. I mean,
But the AI that your students are working with is basically like ChatGPT. You mean like text generate?
yes, but also they're using apps from China that have like dream sequences, and
Right.
they create buildings. You just
They do great buildings
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
It's if you work with construction engineers, let's say, they are designing on the base of laws and equations, and so therefore they have all
Standards.
standards, yes, and this is all done already, so therefore they just put in a kind of a different, slightly different information and form up whatever is needed, so therefore AI can probably do the same, yeah.
Yes, but then along come architects and
Yeah.
say that Grady Road, which is 60 or 70 meters wide between building to building, and Albert and Gordon come along and say we can do it in 35 meters and make it into an urban landscape,
Yes,
an urban
and
canyon. Can
it-
AI do that?
Probably yes.
I don't think so.
But you see,
That's intuition.
it's now we're talking about AI is trying to compose or picture or dragon or a building, let's say, so therefore. But if we ask AI to compose, I thought just about literature, so therefore it's a manual for using washing machine. Yeah, is it okay for AI or not? Probably it is. To use a washing machine, you have to open the door, put in something, push a button, and it starts. Let's say this is a written text, yeah. Then another step is probably novel, yeah.
Can AI sort out color coding inside?
And the last step for me is just the poem, let's say. If we ask AI to write a poem, is it going to happen, or is it if we read, let's say, these kind of poems that they have written, do we like them, or do we say that this is really a poem or not? So maybe today it's not, so therefore there are big difference between, let's say, the real poet like you and AI, let's say, so therefore but what about washing machines? They tend to be similar, let's say. You are writing your description of how you can wash your whatever, and the AI does the same. So therefore, maybe it's developing still towards these abilities of just to writing poems. So therefore, it's
Yes, but do we go for an Anglo-Saxon profit motive for housing development, or do we go for a Finnish, more collaborative understanding that you need to have maybe 50% private ownership, 50% social? If you go for the Anglo-Saxon model, there'll be almost zero kind of social rented, because it's profit motivated. So the AI will collect all the information based on the theory that you're going to make money out of this.
And male viewpoint.
And male viewpoint, yes. Yes.
I don't know, yeah, okay,
So there's a lot of bias in, can AI overcome the bias?
Well, but maybe that's the issue, the main issue, or the main. I mean, I obviously don't know the future of planning, what will be, and you know, and I have limited experience and knowledge with AI. But I guess that what I do think, absolutely, I mean, it's pretty obvious, is that urban planning or planning, spatial planning, will definitely be dealing with data increasingly, more and more data of all sorts. When it comes to manage data and work with data, AI will definitely be extremely helpful and will totally change the way we deal with that, you know, increasingly endless amount of data sets and so on. The issue being that AI have actually no agenda yet. I mean, maybe in the future it will generate, you know, goals in themselves, but it has no agenda. And I guess that's where, at least by now, there is a step that, you know, AI cannot really go, which is, you know, when we need to take a decision whether what kind of model or paradigm or kind of goals or visions or strategies we actually pursue, which then, whenever you give the prompt to the AI, or you give, you know, in order to achieve that, you know, can we do a kind of analysis work of, but I'm not sure to what extent we can leave, let's say, the decisions to the AI without framing clearly where do we want to push it, right? Like whether we want to go to an Anglo-Saxon or a
Finnish,
for instance.
oh,
But that's the key.
Oh,
That it's AI at the moment is the information we supplement the computer with. We're not at the stage where the computer is sufficiently capable of thinking without us. If that occurs, then who's to say that, and this has been speculated already many times, that it then takes over and destroys the world by releasing all the atom bombs.
This is the last game-based outcome,
Yes.
because this is probably the first areas that it will be most advanced is the military operations.
Yeah. So is this AI going to be the end of capitalism and the introduction of a new mode of opus operandi, or what is it going to be?
I would like to join your team of AI, but unfortunately I am pessimist by nature. So I propose that there is this well-known Turing test. So if we don't, or the majority of readers do not make a difference, whether it's a novel written by a poet or by AI, or whether it is an image made by AI or an artist, doesn't really matter who made it.
But for example, if we were creating our own chat GPT now, this very afternoon, there's 4 of us, and the 4 of us will have an input, and we'll have to compromise between the information that we submit to the computer, correct? Therefore, it's already built in to the model a bias.
That is true. Broken English
At the
in
moment,
case of
at the moment,
us.
but who knows, in 20 years from now it will all change. They're now suggesting, this is just a quickie, that this Vision Pro, which is very bulky, the new Apple, is going to be redefining the form. So it will come down to just like Superman, you know, glasses like yours, and everything will be in it.
This is where it goes.
Right.
But that is
Anyway.
that is not the main question. The main
No.
question is, can it do what humans can?
But it's good that, I mean, I don't want the afternoon to be taken up with that. I just thought if we had that as a preface to what we're about to do, then let's now go into the meaty, bitty, vegan bits of
But,
the workshop.
but it is important in a way to speculate about it.
Yes.
And I quite agree, or let's say I don't agree, but I hope that the errors, unconscious human mind is more creative. But what opposes it is not that the input we put in, but the input that is there already available in digital format, and that is huge. One of the projects I've been keeping my eye on was Google Books. The idea was that they are going to scan all the books and they could be someday available. The publishers went to court against it and they won. And now the Google project has disappeared. And my humble belief is that Google has used it to train its AI. That was what they were doing it for from the beginning. And it has gone underground. It isn't there anymore, but the model is trained. It's the same case with the images. All the images are there in the internet. We can't put our hand in front of it anymore. We can't
Maybe
even...
not all. Maybe not all.
Most of our production is that has been in digital format is there.
Sure. You know,
So
the collective history.
it is
doesn't
out there.
exist.
The only possibility would be if we can censor AIs. And this is what some prominent people have called to, but it doesn't work because there are profits, huge profits. So it will come, whether we like it or not. And looking at that in a half a year, what Mid-Journey develops is really staggering speed with what it moves forward. And I would argue that in half a year, it will do a project of a one-family house that is better than 50% of architects. It will be better than mediocre architects that are there around us. Maybe we ourselves belong to them, but it will do better. And if we look at the development of architecture design technology, we can see that it started because nobody could draw. Drawing was so complex thing in Renaissance, nobody did it, except Brunelleschi, who was a weirdo. But on top of that, he was also genius, and he could figure out geometrically and analytically how three-dimensional space works, out of which came Cartesian grid and all the rest of the jazz we have today. But nobody could draw. That's why they needed an architect. It appeared that with drawing also other qualities came in. And suddenly you could add a different layer to what you were planning, including the cultural codes, political necessities and whatsoever. We all remember the time when it was handmade. The architectural drawings were handmade because there was no other chance of doing it. So you had to go to the architect to design a private house because you couldn't do the drawings. On top of that, you also got a good space if the architect was good. With coming of, you will get a word in a second. With coming of CAD, anybody could do the drawings. With coming of AI, anybody could do now a house, but in the future the whole city. Stop here.
Most of built matter is done without any architect, probably. So
That is true.
there is no need
Packages.
for architects. So therefore, it's people just start building and they build. So therefore, not even having any drawings. My grandfather did it, and so therefore. And there are lots of these peasants, let's say, always doing things without any kind of a need for a bloody architect who is just an arrogant person and says that he knows. So therefore,
You probably do know, because you're trained to know.
it's not so sure that it's really like they have trained and they know, and I might ask, what do they know? So therefore, what's their knowledge, and what is the real essence of their business, or what they can do different from, let's say, a normal person who, and even some cities, as far as I know, let's say, are built up without any major master plan or whatever. It's maybe even Dallas is such kind of a city, but so therefore they just build it. And so I don't know if it's what's the really the point or essence of architecture, or what
Well, I raised that with the master students this morning,
okay.
and the question
Thank
was,
you for this.
yeah, the question was, like Yuri said, it's now through CAD and AI you can create your own building, but does that generate, if the aim is a climate change building, does that generate a solution that the supply chain can create at low prices? And that, that's going to be difficult. But as an architect, we'll probably know that instantaneously. But AI might not know it, because not all the information will be readily available about supply chains.
I think that is something that can model quite easily.
Yes, you can model. Yes,
No,
but
I
the
mean
question-
AI can.
Yes, but is it available? It's always in the past, AI. It's not the future. So does it keep up on a day-to-day basis with what's happening in the real world?
If it is open to all the information that is legally or illegally available in digital domain, I think it is. Yeah? It's just a matter of asking the question. But what if we come back to the AI? It is also the case that it can, at the moment, it in a way reproduces what is there, and it reproduces it on a relatively simple algorithm. The ChatGPT really, as far as I understand it, if I'm correct, takes a letter or a sound of a letter, matches it with the most probable one until it gets the expressions in the format of grammar and vocabulary, then matches the most probable connection to it, so it is sentence after most probable sentence. It then goes through the neural networks that will actually include syntax and grammar, because the texts that come out are grammatically correct. So that all can in a way be induced. And with creating that part, it actually has the meanings in it. I think it shows that the language is actually a very simple mechanism. And the structure of the meaning is probably deeper down there. But we do not use it in everyday life. So in everyday life, AI can simulate the text very easily at the moment. But when it comes to the more complex systems, as Lotman is saying, is the secondary modeling system, which is literature on top of the language. There it isn't good yet. But if it knows all the books in all the languages that have been written, then it is very difficult to compete with it.
It depends on how you question the, like for instance, ChatGPT. Takes time for ChatGPT to learn what the actual question is. So you have to keep in, because the use of syntax will create that bias which makes it then produce a solution based on that bias. But we don't know, is that the best solution available? We don't know. Unless we ask it, is this the best solution available?
He will lie,
Yes.
or she, whoever the
No,
AI is.
I think that's the best thing you've said today. You've just said what I've been saying all along, that so far it's not good enough yet, AI.
It isn't.
That it will lie, as I said, it will fake. Like the Chinese apps that produce spectacular buildings, and then they don't work in terms of actually putting them together. Pipework's missing, windows missing, floors missing, whatever. But anyway, Professor Albert has a comment to make based on
Made the visual
drawing.
comment.
No, if I sometimes I've told the students that, let's say, what's the essence of architecture? It's you have to get information from the future. What does it mean? I even don't know. So therefore, but you still have to be, your intuition should work towards this point that you know what might happen, let's say, and you do it. Maybe this ChatGPT is collecting all that information from the past, let's say, like historians, so therefore they collect it. Of course you can add whatever here to stack it up to, I don't know, to what universe, so therefore. But then what happens in the future is maybe this is the human intuition, is the only thing that really defines us from the machines, let's say. Yeah.
I have the same opinion.
No, yeah. So therefore, and where this intuition comes, let's say, how it's formed and how it's built up in your memory.
It's human.
No, yeah, of course it is, but
And that's what separates us from the machines.
yeah, probably, and from animals also not. I don't know.
Some
What about sheep and dogs, rabbits?
chimpanzee.
Chimpanzee. No, yeah, I didn't know. So so it's to just to get something from somewhere. Let's say that is not yet, or that is behind us. So therefore it's a continuous discussion between historians and these protectors of the old cities, let's say, and architects. So therefore there is kind of a difference there.
But this point here in Cartesian space, by the way, it has coordinates, is a speculation. And in the case of architects, it's educated speculation, which also is biased.
Yeah.
So we are in the right direction, speculative futures, which architects actually do, and they are so arrogant they do them. And it's a very rare occasion because nobody else does. Everybody analyzes, but nobody puts it together in a kind of bold way.
And if you let these four men around this table to design something for the future, let's say, they might be very, very different, let's say. Even with this, what theory was showing us, that you have to design somewhere this junction of railroad way, so that one way, other, third and fourth, so therefore they are all different. which is right. This is always a kind of a miracle how these competitions are going to end, let's say. Somebody has to decide that this is the best work. And I never ever, I'm doubting that these men that are selected to do that, they are on
And
the right
women.
pace. Yeah, I'm sorry. In Estonia there are no genders, so it's very different.
But do you think that, because I kind of see a difference between designing a house, like telling AI to design a house,
Yeah.
Designing a city.
than designing a city. Whenever we go into planning, urban planning, regional planning, whatever form of planning, which I see as substantially different from designing a house, in the sense that it involves a time span and a process and a series of, economic or, social kind of dynamics that over time, like you can't control really anymore, I would say now.
But if you ask AI to design a military camp,
Yeah, probably that can do totally fine.
this is something that probably this AI can do quite easily, saying that strict
Yeah.
measures, strict
And-
this and that.
And something that could be immediately implemented, let's say, erected in, I don't know,
No, yeah.
in a year
No.
or so. But if we deal more in, I guess we tend, obviously there are scales of planning, right? But we tend to go towards a little bit more, how to say, flexible or not that stiff planning like it had been, in some earlier periods, so that it can accommodate change, it can, become more resilient, it can evolve towards, in 20 years, in 50 years, right? So in that sense, I think like a vision, like static vision of a city, of course, we can produce an illustration. That also happened in the past, right? So the visions of full cities designed by planners in the 20th century, then they were not fully realized, right? The layout may remain, but but it's not like the city as a whole that gets built, right? So I guess there is something where still, humans definitely will have something to say or to do over the deployment of whatever vision we have, right?
But listening to you, I have a question. Let's say, why do we need these visions at all?
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm saying.
Maybe
but
it's we
we
can
don't have-
skip them
yeah.
quite easily, so
Yeah.
therefore there are no mistakes anymore. Yeah.
Like the very kind of grand vision of a city.
Or we can say
We don't-
that this was
we don't do that.